Maharaj, upon realization of the Vedic conclusion, says, "You are spread all over the cosmic manifestation by your energy." This energy is basically spiritual, but because it acts in the material world temporarily, it is called Maya or illusory energy. In other words, for everyone but the devotees, the Lord's energy acts as external energy. Dhruva Maharaj could understand this fact very nicely, and he could understand also that the energy and the energetic are one and the same. The energy cannot be separated from the energetic. The identity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the feature of Paramatma or Super Soul is admitted herein. His original spiritual energy enlivens the material energy, and thus the dead body appears to have life force. Voidist philosophers think that under certain material conditions, the symptoms of life occur in the material body. But the fact is that the material body cannot act on its own. Even a machine needs separate energy, electricity, steam, etc. It is stated in this verse that the material energy acts in varieties of material bodies, just as fire burns differently in different wood according to the size and quality of the wood. In the case of devotees, the same energy is transformed into spiritual energy. This is because the energy is originally spiritual, not material. As it is said, Vishnu Shakti Paraprokta. The original energy inspires a devotee, and thus he engages all his bodily limbs in the service of the Lord. The same energy as external potency engages the ordinary non devotees in material activities for sense enjoyment. We should mark the difference between Maya and Swadharma. For devotees, the Swadharma acts, whereas in the case of non devotee, the Maya energy acts. Ama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishnu Buddha Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Bhava Gaur Bhakti Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Lagete Girim Yakripata Mahammande Paramanam Hare Krishna. So we have started the series on Dhruva Stuti. We had done Kunti Stuti first for some time back. And after Kunti Stuti, we switched to Bhishma Stuti. And now we have come to a series on Dhruva Stuti. So these are very nice topics and very nice themes and a very nice series. So whoever is selecting this, thank you. Very nice initiative to have a theme, this kind of series to inspire the congregation. So as you know, Swayambhuva Manu, the son of Brahma, he had 3 daughters, Akuti, Prasuti, Devahuti. And in the 3rd canto, we read the pastime of Devahuti and Kardama Muni. And then in the 4th canto, he talks a little about Akuti. She marries Prajapati Ruchi, I think. And then Prasuti, he begins more with the pastime of Prasuti, who married Daksha, and the pastime of Daksha Prajapati and that whole pastime. After which he talks about the 2 sons, Shukadeva Goswami talks about the 2 sons of Swayambhuva Manu, beginning with Uttanapada in the 4th canto and his descendants. And in the 5th canto, he goes into the 2nd son of Swayambhuva Manu, who's Priyavrata. So Uttanapada, you know, had 2 sons also. He had 2 sons. He had and 2 wives, Suruchi from whom he had Uttama, and Suniti, from whom he had Dhruva. So there was Suruchi and Suniti. He had more favoritism towards Suruchi. That's the general tendency. People have more taste for Ruchi than Niti, because she was Suruchi and that is Suniti. She was following the law, Niti, Dhruva's mother. So as you know the story, Uttama was sitting on his father's lap. Dhruva comes and desires to sit on his father's lap and climbs his father, and then Suruchi chastises him. So Dhruva says, why? I have full rights for my father as well. Suruchi says, because you're not born from my womb. So the young child, very hurt, depressed, distressed, runs to his mother crying. And the first nice instruction Suniti tells him is, do not desire anything inauspicious, Mamangalam. Do not desire any inauspiciousness for others, for if we do, that same effect will actually come to us. I'm so sorry that you are born from a unfortunate lady. She says, Mat durbhagaya durbhagya udire agrihite. You're born from such an unfortunate womb. There is no use crying, my child. The only one who can do dukkha parihara, dukkha chittam, or mitigate the distress is the Supreme Lord himself. So please go take shelter of the Supreme Lord. So this, in a way, I was discussing with some of them, that this, in a way, I had this thought that come to me. This shows actually how surrendered, or the quality of surrender of Suniti on the Supreme Lord, that he will surely protect my 5 or 6-year-old child. Usually, we as parents don't have that kind of faith, because we give a lot of material education to our children, because we want to take shelter of material education for our survival and do Krishna consciousness in the side, evening class or that class, and 8 hours to 10 hours in a material education or material system of survival. So this is Suniti's Shraddha. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it says, Shraddha Shraddhe Vishwasa Kahe Sudhardha Nishchaya Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. Just by Krishna Bhakti, everything is taken care. In the Bhagavatam also, there's a nice verse. In the 11th canto, 20th chapter, 32-33, Yat karma bhir yat tapasa, jnana vairagaya yataschayet, yogena dhana dharmena, shreyo bhir iterairapi, sarvam mad bhakti yogena, mad bhakta labate anjasa, svargo pavargam mad dhama kathanchit yat vanchati. So the translation by Prabhupada is, everything that can be achieved by fruitive activities, penance, tapasya, knowledge, detachment, vairagya, mystic yoga, charity, religious duties, and all other means of perfecting life is easily achieved by my devotee through bhakti, loving service. If somehow or other my devotee desires promotion to heaven, liberation, or residence in my abode, he easily achieves such benedictions. 11th canto. So everything, so that is the faith even Suniti had, that she sent her son to take complete shelter of the Supreme Lord. And so Dhruva proceeds towards the forest, and on his way, he meets Narada Muni, and then they have a discussion. Then Dhruva says, I've been insulted, I feel dishonored. And then Narada Muni chastises him. What is dishonor and honor for a 5-year-old child? You've seen children, they play, they get insulted, they get dishonored, the next day they're fine and they play. What is dishonor? Child is always chastised, and they won't take it seriously. Just go home and play. All this will keep happening. Come on, don't take it seriously. Take it lightly and go home. Don't think about all these things. Then Narada gives actually a very, very nice instruction. Guna adhikat mudam lipsed. Always be happy when you see someone is doing better than you. Uttama is doing better than you. So just be happy about it. Don't become envious. Right? Uttama is doing better. Don't become anukrosham gunadhamat. Then if you see someone lower than you, you show your compassion, karuna, you show, be nice to them. Then maitrim samanad anvichen. Be friends with peers. You have equal level, samana. So learn this. Uttama is sitting in a better position than you. Don't feel dishonored. Be happy for him. Don't be, be happy for him and move forward. So then Dhruva says, I am a Kshatriya, 5-year-old boy. I am a Kshatriya. I have a Rosha, I have anger, I have the Kshatriya spirit. I cannot take insult. So I have to do tapasya and attain the Lord. So Narada continues to say, tapasya is not a joke. The forest is full of wild animals, no food. How are you going to survive? No, I will do tapas, says Dhruva. And he pleased Narada Muni by his determination. Dhruva means fixed determination. So this was, in a way, Narada Muni's evaluation, checking out if this boy has really come out of frustration or real sincerity to attain the Lord. Because, if you do something out of frustration, it is not going to last very long. Once a very affluent person came to Gaudiya Mutt to join. He wanted to join the Gaudiya Mutt. And like many temples, he was given the first service of washing pots, big vessels. And Gaudiya Mutt actually had those traditional vessels of bronze and brass and kansa, not like aluminum or steel. So they're very heavy to carry. And this person, he was just scrubbing so beautifully and wonderfully. Everyone was impressed. But Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur was not impressed. He was unimpressed. Everyone was like surprised. He said, just wait. Then after a few days, that person's wife had come. They had a chat privately and he left. Then what happened, Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur said, he actually had a fight with his wife. So he came to the Mata and in that anger, he was scrubbing the vessel so nicely. So when that frustrated wife came, so the frustration is gone, he left. So we should not come out of frustration. Even when, we come as a new bhakta, so full day we can do after 10 years. So we have to be, anyway. So he evaluated him that way. And then Narada Muni then gave him all the instructions, go to Madhuvana, chant nicely, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and what kind of worship to do, how to please the Supreme Lord. He gave him that knowledge. He gave him how to do all these things. So he left for the forest. He performed austerities, surviving on fruits, leaves, then even breathing every 12 days. The 5-year-old boy breathing every 12 days. So if you think, how is this possible? Firstly, there's actually in our body, there is something called the Panchakoshas. There is the Annamaya Kosha, the Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya Koshas are there. So this Annamaya, the first layer, only that requires ahara, food actually. And the mala, the waste, comes out. Mostly this Annamaya is the one which is getting nourished through the food that we eat, ahara. Then further is the Pranamaya Kosha. So one actually crosses the Annamaya Kosha and reaches the Pranamaya Kosha. Then such a yogi or such a person does not need much ahara. He doesn't need much food. He can survive on very little food and the body accepts and it can survive. Then once you transcend or cross the Pranamaya Kosha, after you perfect your pranayama siddhis and all this, then you come to Manomaya Kosha. Then the Manomaya Kosha is much, much stronger and higher. At that level, he needs very, very little air also. See, in Bhagavad Gita it says, Indriyani paranyahu indriyebhya param manaha. Above all those senses. So he comes to the manas, the level of Manomaya. So, at that level, you can even stay for 12 days, 15 days, 20 days without air. And after a few months, close to 5, 6 months, he controlled his breathing so much that he was standing on one leg as like a stamba, like a pillar, with full breath control. And that time he came to Vijnanamaya. And that time he didn't even need breath anymore. And finally, after Vijnanamaya is the next stage, where he captured the Supreme Lord in his heart. Brahma Dharaya Manasya. The Bhagavatam, he captured the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, and after which the Supreme Lord comes down and gives him his darshan. And all this happened in a matter of 6 months. There's a verse in the 12th canto of the Bhagavatam. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutastunvanti Divyaistaver Vedai Sangha Karmapanishadeir Gayanti Yam Samagha Dhyanavastita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yogino Yasyantam Navidu Sura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha. So many Brahma, Varuna, Rudra, Maruts, Rishis, they're all meditating Dhyana Vastita Tadgatena Manasa in their mind for so many years. And this child did it in 6 months. So I asked my son's teacher, how is this possible? Is there any pastime to this? How he did it in 6 months? So he told me, actually, Dhruva in his previous birth, he had done great tapasya. In his previous birth, he was a Brahmana. He had done so much great tapasya that he had almost achieved perfection. But there was one small mistake. He was a friend of a prince, and he had that one desire, how I wish I was a prince. That's that one desire. And then he had to come another birth for that. So one small desire, imagine us, how many desires we'd be having. So because of that, he was born again, and he had to wait another birth. And then when he achieved perfection, he had darshan of the Supreme Lord. Then he says, the Supreme Lord then, when he had darshan, his senses were not working. He seen someone, the Supreme Lord himself, Satam Vivakshatam Adam Vidam Harir, Atad Vidam Harir, Jnatvasya Sarvasya Chahridyavastitaha, Kritanjalim Brahmamayena Kambuna, Pasparsha Bhalam Kripaya Kapole. So he felt very awkward. He didn't know, nothing was working. His sense he could not speak. So the Supreme Lord understood his heart and immediately with a Shankha touched his Kapola, which is the forehead. So then after that, Dhruva begins his wonderful prayers. Yonta pravishya mama vacha mimam prasupta sanjeevayatya shakti dharasvadhamna anyamscha hasta charana shravanatvagadin pranan namo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam. So Supreme Lord, Dhruva is like, even if you say speak, what can I speak? Prasuptam sanjeevayati. How can I speak? My speech, which is sleeping inside, that sleeping speech, you have woken up and brought out. Whatever words you have woken up and brought out, you have brought out. Whatever words that were sleeping, you have brought out. That I'm going to go ahead and speak. How did you do that? Yonta pravesha, by entering into my heart or entering into me, you have enlivened all my senses along with the power of speech. And that is what I'm going to speak now. So, usually you can say, well, my senses are always awake. My eyes are awake. I can see, I saw him. I saw the Lord. I could Om Namo Bhagavate Vasa, I spoke. So what is this? Even we are awake now. But still, Bhaktivinoda Thakur tells people like us who are already awake still. Jeev Jago, Gaura Chandra Bole, Kota Nidra Maya, Pishachi Rakhole. How long will you sleep on this witch lap of Maya? Wake up. In Jeev Jago. So even though we are awake, we are actually opposed to the Lord. Bhagavad Vimukha, Krishna Vimukasya. We have turned our faces away from the Lord and not using our senses in the service of the Lord. So wake up and use your senses in the service of the Lord, which is what Dhruva is doing now. His whole senses have been enlivened to be used in the service of the Lord. So usually in the Bhagavatam and other places it comes that the senses are actually controlled by various devatas. There is the sun for the eyes. For speech, it is Agni, I think, if I remember right. And so for nostrils, I think it's Ashwini Kumaras, right? Hearing, hands, legs. There are different devatas. So the Lord can say, no, Dhruva, that speech, etc., are controlled by devatas. That seva has been given to them. What did I do in this? Agni Devata has enlivened your speech. Why? What did I do? So in that spirit, Dhruva Maharaj then says, Ekastvameva bhagavannidam atma shaktya मायाख्ययोरुगुणया महदाद्य शेषम् सृष्ट्वानुविश्य पुरुषस्तदसद्गुणेषु नानेव धारुषि विभावसुवद् vibhasi. No, not the demigods. Bhagavan, tvam ekameva purushaha. You are the one. You are the one who is creating everything. You are the one who has created everything. Maya, all the different demigods who manage the different indriya senses. All that is true. But tvam ekameva idam atma shaktya. Everything is created by you. No one has helped you. You're not taken sahaya or help of anyone. And you gave them all the different positions to manage. The different senses has been given by the Lord himself. So alone you do this srishti, create the devatas, and he talks about this verse that you are the cause, you created all these things. So if you see Maya Kyayoru Gunaya Mahadadi Shesham. So you first line is the Anvaya starts with Bhagavan. Tvam Ekameva Purusha Maya Kyayo Urugunaya Mahad Urugunaya Atma Shaktya, by your Atma Shakti, by your energies. The Lord creates everything through his energies. Prabhupada quotes in the purport, Vishnu Shakti Parak Prokta Kshetragya Tatayevacha and Tritiyam Shakti Rishyate. What's the third line? Kshetragya Tatayevacha Avidya Karma Sangyana Tritiyam Shakti Rishyate. So there are three energies. Through Atma, through these energies, he creates. He creates in the first line, Maya Kyayoru Gunayad Mahad Adya Shesham. So this is actually Vishnu number one, who is Karanadakshay Vishnu, the Mahavishnu. He first creates. By what? By glancing, right? Then Srishtvanu Vishya Purushas Tadasadguneshu. Then he creates and then he enters everything, and then the three modes. Naneva Dharushu Vibhavasuvad Vibhasi. So Vishnu number one, Vishnu number two as Garbhodakshay Vishnu enters everything, and three as Shirodakshay Vishnu also enters as the Paramatma. So Vishnu's Tutrini Rupani in the Satvata Tantra, which is quoted in the Chaitanya Charitamrita and then quoted in Laghu Bhagavatamrita. This verse comes, Vishnu's Tutrini Rupani. So you see, usually whenever a disciple approaches a guru, whether it is Vidura approaching Maitreya or anyone else, the first thing they start talking about is Srishti Leela. The Bhagavatam also starts with that. Janma Adi Yasya, you are the creator. Yato Anvaya, you create directly and indirectly. So usually the Srishti Leela is not like Krishna killed a demon, so much fun, the Govardhan he lifted, it's not like a story kind of Leela. It is heavily philosophical. The first two cantos itself spends a lot of time on especially the second spends a lot of time on this Srishti Leela. So it's a very important topic for us to advance in spiritual life. So Vishnu here, so the whole is coming at how Vishnu enters everything material to make it come alive. Because he and Yonta Pravesha Mamavacham Imam Prasutam, he entered him, Dhruva's heart, or the Dhruva system, to make enliven, give the spiritual potency to all the material senses, the dull material senses. Similarly, no Vishnu, you do that even not only here, you do it even by entering the Prakriti, by entering the different Brahmandas, and also by entering us as Kshirodakshay Vishnu, by entering Praveshya. So this Vishnu who has three forms, the first Mahavishnu is the creator of the total material energy, Maya Kyayoru Mahadadi Guda. Okay, total material energy, Mahat. The second is Garbhodakshay Vishnu, who is situated within each universe. He enters every Brahmanda. And the third is Kshirodakshay Vishnu, who lives in the heart of every living being. He knows, and then the verse further says, he who knows these three becomes liberated from the clutches of Maya. So the commentary to Lagu Bhagavatamrita says, in this verse, Vishnu refers to the original Supreme Lord, the Swayam Rupa. The first Purusha is the super soul, the Paramatma of Prakriti. The second is the super soul of Hiranyagarbha. Also, sometimes Hiranyagarbha is used to call Brahma, Brahmatma Bhusura Jyeshta. There's a verse in the Amarakosha. Hiranyagarbha, it comes in there. Then the third, which is Kshirodakshay Vishnu, is the Paramatma of you, me, all living entities in this world. So there are three Paramatmas. One for the Prakriti, one as the Paramatma of Hiranyagarbha. This also comes in the purports of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And one as the Paramatma of the Kshirodakshay Vishnu, as our Paramatma. So he expands as these three Vishnus. The Mahavishnu, he is lying on the causal ocean and he glances at material energy, Sa Aikshita. And then while Mahavishnu is lying in his Yogamaya sleep, he's perspiring and all these bubbles of perspiration and the eggs, the Brahmandas of the universe, they're all floating on the universe. So they all come during his Yoga Nidra. It comes in the Brahma Samhita. Yakkara Narnava Jale Bhajati Sma Yoga Nidram Ananta Jagadanda Saroma Kupaha Adhara Shakti Mavalambya Paranswamurtim Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Yakar Yoga Nidra Yakkara Narnava Jale Bhajati Sma Yoga Nidra Ananta Jagat. So I worship the primeval Govinda, who, assuming his great subjective form, who bears the name of Shesha, replete with all accommodating potency, and reposing. Reposing means Adhara, Adhara, Adeya. Adhara in the causal ocean, with the infinity of the world in the pores of his hair, enjoys creative sleep, Yoga Nidra. So that time, and then all these Brahmandas are created. Sometimes Prabhupada calls it like foam-like clusters and all these things he uses. And then what does he do? He enters every Brahmanda as, so he has to enter everything basically. That's the whole point Dhruva is trying to say. He enters the Garbhodaksha he enters every Brahmanda as the Garbhodakshay Vishnu. And even after that, for the creation, then he created all these devatas and all that. And even for them to further create, they needed ingredients. And where did they take those ingredients from? They took that from Sahasra Shirsha, Purushaha, Sahasraksha, Sahasrapad, Purusha Shukta, which is a Rig Veda topic. And this comes in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Purusha Shukta confirmed. That is from the Garbhodakshay Vishnu. So then the universe is created out of the body of Garbhodakshay Vishnu. Firstly, as you know, the universe itself emanates from his Nabhi, from his navel, out of a lotus stem. And then that goes on, and then there is the Kshirodakshay Vishnu, who is the Paramatma, entering all jivas in this creation. And everything is under the control of the Supreme Lord. All material energy is under his control. Nothing can work independent. Maya dakshyena prakriti suyate sacharacharan hetunanena kaunteya jagat viparivartate. That the material energy, material nature is one of my energies and is working under my direction. So why I'm coming to this point is Prabhupada talks about at the beginning of the purport that everything is a transformation of his energy. And he talks about there's nothing like this impersonal or voidism, illusory creation. Because the Mayavadis put forward a topic called Vivartavada. Have you heard of this word? Vivartavada. It is the theory of illusion, that actually nothing's there. Everything is an illusion. What you're seeing is a dream. If what I'm seeing is a dream, that means whatever happens in my dream is usually something I've seen before, right? So it cannot be so I cannot be dreaming. So anyway, there's a Vivartavada that the Supreme Lord has been overcome by the potency of Maya, and such persons have come under illusion, and that is the Vivartavada. I don't want to go too many into technical details. And then comes Parinamavada. Have you heard of this Vada? This all comes in the different commentaries of Bhagavad Gita to the section on Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yovanam jara tata dehantara pratihi dhiras tatra mohyati. In that word, just with that word dehi, from there, all these different. What is dehi? Is it many? Is it one? They go on and on with that whole discussion. So that way, but the Supreme Lord is not a transformation of anything. He's not a transformation of his body. He's a transformation of his energies. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada gives a wonderful purport, translating Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur, saying in the Vedanta Sutra of Srila Vyasadeva, it is definitely stated that all cosmic manifestations result from transformations of various energies. This topic was also discussed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with Rupa Goswami, with Sanatana Goswami. If you see how he starts the conversation, he starts with the concept of Jivere Swarupera Hoy Nitya Krishna Das. And then next verse he starts about his Ekadesha Stitasya Agner Jyotsna Vistarini Yatha Parasya Brahmana Shaktihi Tatedam Akilam Jagat. That he stays in one place and he spread all over the universe by his Shaktis, energies. And then for that he also quotes Vishnu Shakti Paraprokta, which that Tritiya Shakti Ishyate, that the three energies are the primal energies, the main energies. Of course, when he does the process of creation, there's also talk about 16 kinds of energies, Shri, Bhu, Nila, and all these 16 different kinds of energies. So he's a transformation of, or everything is transformed by the process of energy. So it is definitely stated that all cosmic manifestations result from transformation of various energies of the Lord. Shankaracharya, however, not accepting the energy of the Lord, thinks that it is the Lord who has transformed himself. He has taken many clear statements from the Vedic literature, twisted them to try to prove that if the Lord or the absolute truth were transformed, his oneness would be disturbed. Thus, he has accused Srila Vyasadeva of being mistaken. In developing his philosophy of monism, therefore, he establishes Vivartavada, or the Mayavada theory of illusion. In the Brahma Sutra, 2nd chapter, the first aphorism is as follows: Tad ananyatvam arambhana shabdadibhya, commenting on the sutra in Sharirika Bhashya, which is the commentary written by the great Adi Shankaracharya, has introduced the statement Vacha Rambhanam Vikara Namadheyam from the Chandogya Upanishad to try to prove that the acceptance of the transformation of the energy of the Supreme Lord is faulty. So Shankaracharya already says the acceptance of the transformation of the energy of the Supreme Lord is faulty. He has tried to defy this transformation of energy in a misguided way, which will be explained later. Since his conception of God is personal, his conception of God is that he does not have a form. There is no akara. He's nirakara. The Vaishnavacharyas have clearly proved that the Supreme Lord has a form. He has spiritual eyes. He has spiritual hands. He is a spiritual person. He does not believe that the entire cosmic manifestation is a transformation of the energies of the Lord. For as soon as one accepts the various energies of the absolute truth, one must immediately accept the absolute truth to be personal, not impersonal. So Dhruva, explaining all this, is already on the level of personalism. That shows his great realization. A person can create many things by the transformation of his energy. For example, a businessman transforms his energy by establishing many big factories or business organizations. Yet he remains a person, although his energy has been transformed into these many factories or business concerns. The Mayavadi philosophers do not understand this simple fact. Their tiny brains and poor fund of knowledge cannot afford them sufficient enlightenment to realize that when a man's energy is transformed, the man himself is not transformed, but remains the same person. So, not believing in this fact that the energy of the absolute truth is transformed, Shankaracharya has propounded his theory of illusion. This theory states that although the absolute truth is never transformed, we think that it is transformed, which is an illusion. Shankaracharya does not believe in the transformation of energy of the absolute truth, for he claims that everything is one and that the living entity is therefore also one with the Supreme. This is the Mayavad theory. Srila Vyasadeva has explained that the absolute truth is a person who has different potencies. Merely by his desire that there be creation, just by his desire that there be creation, and by his glance, sa aikshata, which comes in the Aitareya Upanishad, first verse. He created this material world, sa asrujata. After creation, he remains the same person. He is not transformed into everything. One should accept that the Lord has inconceivable energies and that it is by his order and will that the varieties of manifestation have come into existence. In the Vedic literature, it is said, Satatvato Anyata Buddhihi Vikara iti Udharataha. This mantra indicates that from one fact, another fact is generated. For example, a father is one fact, and a son is generated, is the second fact from the father. Thus, both of them are truth, although one is generated from the other. This generation of a second independent truth, from a first truth is called vikara, transformation, vikara, or transformation resulting in a byproduct. The Supreme Brahman is the absolute truth, and the energies that have emanated from him are existing separately. Like this world is an energy emanating from his external energy, right? So this is that separated. This verse is there in the 7th chapter. Bhinna prakriti rashtada bhumi rapo analo vayuhu kammano buddhirevacha ahankara iti yame bhinna prakriti rashtada. These are all his separated energy. Yeah. Thus, both of them are truth, although one is generated from the other. The generation of a second India, okay, the supreme Brahman is the absolute truth. And the energies that have emanated from him and are existing separately, such as the living entities and the cosmic manifestation, are also truth. This is an example of transformation which is called vikara or parinama. To give another example of vikara, milk is a truth, but the same milk may be transformed into yogurt. Thus, yogurt is a transformation of milk, although the ingredients of yogurt and milk are the same. In the Chandogya Upanishad, there is the following mantra. Aitad Atmyam Idam Sarvam. This mantra indicates without a doubt that the entire world is Brahman. We also have the verse Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma, the Upanishad's statement. And that also is very well explained by Srila Prabhupada and our Parampara, how it works through various energies. The absolute truth has inconceivable energies, as confirmed in the Shvetashvara Upanishad, Parasya Shaktir Vividhaiva Shruyate. And the entire cosmic manifestation is evidence of these different energies of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is a fact, and therefore whatever is created by the Supreme Lord is also factual. We don't accept that the world is false. The world is real. My relationship with you is real. My mother relationship is real. My father, my son, whoever it be, my friendship, brother, sister, they're all real. It is factual, but it is only temporary. We don't accept the fact that this is what I'm seeing here is illusion. So there was actually one guru who was teaching his disciples, everything is false. What you're seeing is false. This is false. That is false. Everything is false. Then a tiger came. So they all stood up and ran away. Then the tiger left and they all assembled back. Then the Shishya asked the Guru, Guruji, you said everything is false. That means the tiger coming is also false. So he said, yeah, you have not, but you have still not understood completely. The tiger coming is false. Now you asking me this question is also false. And I replying to you is also false. So this becomes Vivartavada, illusionary theory, So everything is illusion. So this doesn't work that way. So the Supreme Lord it is factual, it is real. Everything is true and complete. Purnam, it is complete. But the original Purnam, the complete absolute truth, always remains the same. Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya of the Ishopanishad. The absolute truth is so perfect that although innumerable energies emanate from him and manifest creations which appear to be different from him, he nevertheless maintains his personality. He never deteriorates under any circumstances. It is to be concluded that the entire cosmic manifestation is a transformation of the energy. So we can ask the question, well, if everything is spiritual energy of the Lord, if the Lord is completely spiritual, how does he possess material energies? Because everything emanates from the Supreme Lord, Janmadi Asyayata. So if he is all spiritual, how does the Lord possess material energies? Okay, so we'll see here now. It is to be not of the Supreme Lord. Okay, everything is not a transformation of the Supreme Lord. The material world and the living entities are transformations of the energy of the Lord, the absolute truth, who is the original source. In other words, the absolute truth, Brahman, is the original ingredient, and the other manifestations are transformation of this ingredient. This is also confirmed, and that how he possesses is confirmed by this Taittiriya Upanishad shloka. Yato va imani bhutani jayante. This entire cosmic manifestation is made possible by the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this verse, it is indicated that the Brahman, the absolute truth, is the original cause, and that the living entities and the cosmic manifestation are the effect of this cause. The cause, the karana, the cause being a fact, the effects are also factual because he is a fact, the Father is a fact, the Son is a second, the effect, he is also factual. They are not illusion. Shankaracharya has inconsistently tried to prove that this is an illusion to accept the material world and the jivas as byproducts of the Supreme Lord, because the existence of the material world and the jivas is different and separate from that of the absolute truth. So, with this jugglery of understanding, they have propagated the slogan Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, which declares the absolute truth as fact, but the cosmic manifestation and the living entities are simply illusion, or that all of them are in fact the absolute truth, and the material world and the living entities simply do not exist. Okay, so we'll come to our point which I raised the question. It is therefore to be concluded that Shankaracharya, in order to present the Supreme Law, the living entities, and the material nature as indivisible and ignorant, tries to cover the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He maintains that the material cosmic manifestation is mithya or false, but that is a great blunder. If the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a fact, how can the creation be false? If the Supreme Lord is true, how can his creation be false? Even in ordinary dealings, one cannot think that the material cosmic manifestation to be false. Therefore, Vaishnava philosophers say that the cosmic creation is not false but temporary. It is separated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But since it is wonderfully created by the energy of the Lord, to say that it is false is blasphemous. Non-devotees factually appreciate the wonderful creation of material nature, right? They say God has given everything, let's enjoy. But they cannot appreciate the intelligence and the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who is behind this creation. Sripad Ramanujacharya, however, refers, he is the first Vaishnava philosopher, Sripad Ramanujacharya, who first established, not first, I mean, of course, it was there before, but at least after Buddhism and Shankaracharya, who revived Vaishnavism by showing that the Supreme Lord, especially in his verses to Ajopi Sannavyayatma, to those verses, that the Supreme Lord is not born. He's never born. You know, all these things. Ramanuja very beautifully brings out that the Supreme Lord is a person. Srimad Ramanujacharya refers to the sutra from Aitareya Upanishad, Atma va idam agra asit, which points out that the Supreme Atma, the absolute truth, existed before creation. Even there's other Upanishadic statement, Eko Narayanam Asit, Nacha Brahma, Nacha Shankara, Rudra, whatever. Yeah. So only the Supreme Lord Narayana existed. One may argue, if the Supreme Personality of Godhead is completely spiritual, I raise the question, how is it possible for him to be the origin of creation, and have within himself both material and spiritual energies? If he's to answer this challenge, who first answered this challenge? Ramanujacharya again. Sripad Ramanujacharya quotes a mantra from the Taittiriya Upanishad that states, Yato va imani bhutani jayante, yena jatani jivanti, yat prayanti abhisam vishanti. This mantra confirms that the entire cosmic manifestation emanates from the absolute truth, rests upon the absolute truth, and after annihilation again re-enters the body of the absolute truth. That Supreme Personality of God, that also comes in the Brahma Samhita after Yakaranada Yasyaika Nishvasita Kala Mathavalambya Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagadandanata Vishnur Mahansa Ihayasya Kala Vishesho Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Bhasvan Yatashma. So in all those portions also it comes after the thing. They go back into in here. Okay. The living entity is originally spiritual. Ramanujacharya gives a very nice example. Just pay attention to that if you can. The living entity is originally spiritual, and when he enters the spiritual world or the body of the Supreme Lord, he still retains his identity as an individual soul. In this connection, Sripad Ramanujacharya gives the example that when a green bird enters a green tree, it does not become one with the tree. It retains its identity as a bird, although it appears to merge with the greenness of the tree. To give another example, an animal that enters a forest keeps its individuality, although apparently the beast merges with the forest. Similarly, in the material existence, both the material energy and the living entities of the marginal potency maintain their individuality. See, this is one of the first instructions that the Supreme Lord also gives Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. Maitreya gives, see, an important point. Arjuna knew that there is something called spirit soul. He didn't need that first instruction, the Hinosmin, to know that we are not the body with the soul. Why? Because in the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, he is talking about offering pinda. And you don't offer pinda to a body, you offer pinda to a spirit soul. So he is well aware that the body and soul are different, right? When do you offer pinda? When the soul has gone to either Pitraloka or some other loka. That means he knows there is something beyond the body. Correct? So he knows that there is something. Even society nowadays, they offer this pinda and they don't know all these things. That's on their spirit soul. So that is why Krishna is surprised. Shochananda Sochastam Pragnavadamsha Bhashase Gatasu Nagatasu Nanu Sochanti Pandit. You're talking like a Pandita. What is this? You're saying in one side, in one sense, there is a spirit, soul, and this, and now you're saying Bhishma, body consciousness. So that's why he's saying you're talking like a Pandita. Even if you see in society, many people nowadays, they also talk like all these Panditas like this, they talk about humanity or other things. But what is the first? He's talking about individuality of the souls and all these things, that this person is not going to Arjuna knows they're not going to die. The spirit soul is going to get pinda. So that's why the Bhagavad Gita instruction continues from there. Anyway, although apparently the beast merges with the forest, similarly in the material existence, both the material energy and the living entity. So this is how he's clarifying. Similarly, in material existence, both the material energy and the living entities of the marginal potency maintain their individuality. Thus, although the energies of the Supreme Lord interact within the cosmic manifestation, each keeps its separate individual existence. Merging with the material or spiritual energies, therefore, does not involve loss of individuality. According to Sri Ramanujacharya's theory of Vishishtadvaita, although all the energies of the Lord are one, each keeps its individuality. So the impersonalist section of people have tried to mislead the readers of the Vedanta Sutra by misinterpreting the words Anandamayo Abhyasat. And he has even tried to find fault with Vyasa. All the aphorisms, that means all the sutras, of the Vedanta Sutra need not be examined here, Prabhupada says. Prabhupada, listen to this. Prabhupada says all the Vedanta Sutras need not be examined here. Why? Prabhupada says, because in the future, since we, that is Prabhupada, intend to present the Vedanta Sutra in a separate volume. So Prabhupada wanted to print the Brahma Sutra, Govinda Bhashya, in a separate volume. So the point is here we are coming to is they're all the energies of the Lord. And all these energies, the material energy especially, has to be brought to life with the Supreme Lord, Yonta Pravesha, by the Supreme Lord entering everything. This is one of the first things to be known, because in the process of Sambandha Abhidheya Prayojana, one has to learn what is Sambandha Jnana. He has to know. Without understanding a Sambandha Jnana, there is no progress. Even to understand the Hare Krishna mantra, first you are taught about the Hare Krishna mantra, right? Sometimes there has been some debates I got involved in once, where does jnana come first or bhakti come first? With bhakti comes jnana, jnana comes bhakti. So the various Vaishnava acharyas choose to define jnana in different ways. So in this debate, I kind of said then, have you seen anyone just falling off from the sky chanting Hare Krishna mantra? someone has given them the knowledge of Hare Krishna mantra. That itself is considered jnana by some acharyas, and that itself is considered bhakti knowledge by some acharyas. In the 7th chapter of the first verse of Bhagavad Gita commentary by Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he says, any knowledge pertaining to the Supreme Lord is bhakti. Whereas some other Vaishnava acharyas say any knowledge pertaining to the Supreme Lord is jnana. And it's not the monist, impersonalist definition of jnana. So someone gave you the knowledge of the Hare Krishna mantra, established sambandha jnana. Have you heard the word sambandha jnana? And because of that sambandha jnana, you came to the practice of abhidheya. So that is what all the acharyas do. So when when Dhruva was revived, his speech, and understood what is philosophy and what is real sambandha jnana, first thing he speaks about ekastvameva, you are the Supreme Lord, you are the first person, eko narayana masi. Even when Maitreya talks to Vidura, the first instruction, eko narayana masi. So even when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu talks to Sanatan Goswami, when they talk to Rupa Goswami, when he talks to Ramananda Rai, when he talks to Haridas Thakur, all these instructions, they all begin with Srishti Leela. Srishti Sthiti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Rekha Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga. And what is the position of Durga? She is the Chaya Shakti. When Vyasadev did his meditation because he was dissatisfied, he saw the object. He saw who? He saw Krishna with his feminine potency, Radha Krishna. And then behind them, he saw the shadow energy. So that is the position of Durga Ma, the Mother Durga, that she's the shadow energy. Okay, so, and she works with the material energy here to keep us happily in material energy here. Yeah. So anyway, Srishti. So that's the Srishti Leela that has been provided by all the acharyas first. So Vishwanath Chakravarti, to this verse, he talks about saying, see, the senses of everyone is controlled by the various demigods. But when it is enlivened by the Supreme Lord itself, it is only used in devotional service. Agni may revive my power of speech, but I may use it for politics. I may use it for management talks. I may use it for organizational talks of MBA and all these things. But when the Supreme Lord revives our senses, we use our senses only in Krishna consciousness. This Vyasasana is an asana representing Vyasa and should only be used to speak Krishna Katha. Because anything besides Krishna Katha, this Vyasasana is used, is a disrespect to Vyasa himself and the Sampradaya. This is why it's called Vyasasana. So we are here to pray. So all the senses the senses of your devotees by your mercy focus on you and become spiritual. So that's why when Krishna gave Arjuna also the power, what did Arjuna see? He saw the Supreme Lord in his universal form. He said, with these senses you cannot see. So even Srila Prabhupada, and even in the Brahma Samhita says, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. In that verse it says, and Prabhupada translate, when your eyes are anointed by the love of Godhead, that means you have received the mercy of the Supreme Lord himself, then your eyes will be powerful enough to see. But whereas the Supreme Lord and anything related to the Supreme Lord, but whereas when it is revived by demigods or all these other, whatever situation is, it may be used for materialistic activities. The senses of others, however, focus on Maya alone and become only material senses. Another reason Dhruva attained such a high level of realization is he engaged only in Kevala Bhakti. See, Jiva Goswami categorizes Bhakti into 3 categories. Aropa Siddha Bhakti, I forget the middle one, and then the last one is Kevala Bhakti. Aropa Siddha Bhakti means, you're using offering your karma, like offering your the fruits of your actions of karma, not be karma, simple, but that also you can offer. But Bhagavat Arpita Nishkama Karma Yoga, when that is offered to the Supreme Lord, Bhaktivinoda Thakur categorizes bhakti as Shuddha Bhakti, number one, Mukhya Bhakti, and Gauna Bhakti in the first few chapters of Bhagavad Gita. And the Gauna Bhakti, he categorizes anything that you offer to the Supreme Lord. Usually, he uses the word Bhagavat Arpita Nishkama Karma Yoga. So you have to understand what is karma, vikarma for this. But if that is offered to the Supreme Lord, that becomes Gauna Bhakti. And when the Mukhya Bhakti is simply engaging 24 hours in Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaran. Kevala Bhakti means that Dhruva, even though he had the strongest of material desire, the one great thing he did was he approached the Supreme Lord, Akama Sarva Kamova, Moksha Kama Udharidi, Tivrena Bhakti Yogena, Yajeta Paramam Purush. He approached the Supreme Lord and only engaged in Kevala Bhakti. And because he entered that, he got his fruit. And that's why one of the reasons Chaitanya Mahaprabhu loved, he did Dhruva Katha a lot and Prahalad. These were the two favorite pastimes he kept discussing compared to all the other pastimes. Was this sincere child and Prahalada. They simply engaged in Kevala Bhakti. And even though Dhruva approached the Supreme Lord with Kevala, with a material desire and engaged in Kevala Bhakti, he, after his realization, which is now, he simply said all that material desires were like broken pieces of glass. Yeah. And so that was the effect of that Shuddha Bhakti. So that's why Mahaprabhu was inspired, or he engaged, he liked this pastime very much. So the Supreme Lord has to enter, whether it is senses or everything material or the Paramatma, he enters as Prakriti, as Mahavishnu, as a Paramatma for Mahavishnu, for Prakriti. He enters as Paramatma, Garbhodakshay Vishnu as a Paramatma for Hiranyagarbha or Chaturmukha Brahma. And then he enters as the Paramatma for each and every individual soul. And only then that such things are awakened. Every blade of grass can move only under the direction of the Supreme Lord. Okay, I will conclude here. Any questions? Any comments? I hope it was not very technical, but these things are to be known, or else we will always be, we'll never progress in Sambandha Jnana. Yes, Prabhu.
Pranam, Prabhu. Thank you for the nice class. Two things, Prabhuji. One was this Vikara. We spoke about this transformation from the father to the son.
Yeah.
And even in Brahma Samhita, Vikara, the milk
Shambhu.
to the curd, we see that.
Kshiram yatadidi vikara vishesha yoga.
So there, sometimes the Mayavadis may take that to their advantage, no, Prabhuji. They may say, see, the milk is there, that milk only became curd. Same way Vishnu is pure, that Vishnu only became impure. Like that, if we say the son and the father is clear. The father is remaining father, son is still remaining son. But how do we counter if such questions they ask?
Well, first, it is a transformation of his energy. And the second one is that the Supreme Lord never gets contaminated by the modes. Yesterday I was using the words, Etad Ishanam Ishasya Prakriti Stopi Tadgunaihi. You know that verse? Comes in the first canto, I think 11th chapter somewhere it comes, right? 11th chapter somewhere. That the Supreme Lord does not come under the three modes. So that is the pramana for that. Their point is that the Supreme Lord comes under the three modes. And for this, Prabhupada gives a very wonderful example. If I actually wanted to bring up this example, but I forgot during class, that Prabhupada gives the example of this jail officer, right? He has to enter the jail to make sure the functioning of the work is going on nicely. But he is not contaminated he is not a prisoner himself. He's just going in his police uniform. Doyamai Prabhu is nodding, he knows very well. So the police officer goes in, jail superintendent, he's not contaminated, and then he comes out. So Supreme Lord comes to his world, Prakriti Stopi Tadguna, he's not affected by the modes, and then he goes out when it's required. So that pramana can be used there.
And both are considered as the same Vikara, is it, Prabhuji? The son and the father, and the milk and the curd.
And that is just some blunt example for us to understand in a way. Yeah. But the basic thing is that even though he has come from the Father's energy, he is still a separate entity. He's still a separate energy. He's come from the Father's virya. You've not come from you've not cut the body of the Father and made a son. He's not a transformation. Yes. Okay. Yes, Prabhu.
Many times they give some quotation. They said that Vedas say Ekoham Bahusyama. So this, are there some different understanding of this quotation, or whether this quotation is there are some proper reference? Are there some proper reference of this quotation? They say that Ekoham Bahusyama means that Lord were one, then they become many.
There was only one Lord, Eko Narayan. He was one, and then he became many. Yeah, he wanted to be happy, so he became many. Like Ekadeshas, they all like fire sparks. One fire and the sparks of fire. So yes, we came Janmadhyasiyata. We came from the transformational energy of Supreme Lord. We are all spiritual energies. Even though we came qualitatively, we are one. Like me and you qualitatively are one. You have blood, bones, earth, water, air, fire, material. Even I have earth, water, air. Qualitatively, we are one. But you are a different person. I'm a different person. Quantitatively, and that because we are different, even though we are qualitatively one, we meet the Supreme Lord through service. We are different with each other. I hope that helps. Okay.
And Prabhuji, like in case of Dhruv Maharaj, he was having so much determination and faith. Like we also have some faith, then only we are sitting here.
Yeah.
So why we don't have so much determination to practice, and we don't have so much eagerness or thankful for the
It
Lord.
says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yesham Tvantagatam Papam Jananam Punya Karmanam Te Dvandva Moha Nirmukta Bhajante Mam Dhrida Pritaha. Because we have committed lot of sins, 8.4 million species of sins. You might be 6.4, I might be 8.4. You directly come to human form soon. So if we have to increase a dhrida determination, we have to increase our punya karma. So because people want to increase punya karma, they do all these things like, some yagna, feeding the orphans, all these small punyas. But the highest punya is Srinvatam Swakatha Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtana. That's the highest punya. So the more we engage in services as given by Srila Prabhupada, Shravanam Kirtanam, book distribution, Harinam, these main services, our punya karma will increase. And when that increases, our dhrida also, determination also increases. If we become lazy there, then our bhakti also becomes lazy. Then we take to YouTube and all these other things, so they get distracted. We have to go. Prabhupada made everyone go, morning to evening, go, distribute books, don't stay in the temple, or else we'll do prajalpa. Even in Gaudiya Math, they had to go morning to evening, engage in the book distribution, preaching, prachara, and all bhiksha and all that. Back, Sri Balaji Prabhu. Oh, here he also has a question, Anju Prabhu. Anjan Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for the wonderful class. It was actually a virtual tour for the whole pastime. The question I had there was Narad Muni was testing the determination of Dhruva Maharaj. But what Dhruva Maharaj was expecting or wanted was a kingdom much greater than the what his grandfather had. So how do we reconcile this? Dhruva Maharaj was testing his determination, because when Narad Muni is testing a determination, it is supposed to be on the from a devotional service perspective, or he should become a bhakta, wonderful bhakta. But now we see Dhruva Maharaj's internal intentions are that he wanted a kingdom greater than his grandfather. So
usually four kinds of people come to bhakti. They come to the four types of people come to the Supreme Lord: Jignasu, Artharthi, the one who's seeking knowledge, and one who wants wealth. So he wanted wealth, but he has come to the Supreme Lord. The determination he's seeing that has he really come to the Supreme Lord, not whether he wants wealth. So four types of people, whether material desires also can come. But the determination is seeing is, will he come to the Supreme Lord and falter, fall down, and then go back because he cannot achieve the Supreme Lord. So everyone has to come to the Supreme Lord for something, either to be happy or these are any distressed, So that's what he is testing.
Thank you.
Anjan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Mm.
Thank you very much for your class. So you gave many technical aspects of Krishna consciousness, how to reach perfection. Now we have heard Prabhupada talk about that widow in Radha Damodar temple. She would bring 2 vessels of water regularly, and Prabhupada declared that she would go back to Golok Vrindavan.
Mhm.
So she would not most of whatever you spoke. So how to understand that
Well, bhakti is for those who are simple. So she might be a simple person. Or complicated people like us, what to do? We need something like that. I've not seen, I've heard like this how you're talking, but I've really not seen a written thing of Prabhupada or Prabhupada's voice saying that thing. But anyway, it could be. She was a great devotee for many lives, and she just can you say gopis to study Shastra? Gopis were exalted devotees, and even the Gopas, Krita Punya Punja, they did so many punya, tapasya, so many austerities to come to that position of a Gopa. So in Sri Dhama and Sudama are playing, they're not going to sit with Krishna and say, Krishna, I read your Bhagavata. I don't know what's the position of the lady. It's only between Prabhupada and her. But we as ISKCON devotees cannot take that pastime and say, I don't have to study. I'll just carry a pot and go around. I'll attain bhakti. So we have to, the Bhagavatam says what all we have to do. So take the guidance of Srimad Bhagavatam. And so I can't say what devotional level that lady was on. I mean, there's Ajamil, he got a chance. And there's so many other pastimes also. But Supreme Lord also says, I choose who I want to give mercy to. There's an Upanishad statement for that. Ashoka Prabhu will know that Supreme Lord will give his mercy to who? Dayam Labhyo, something, there's a verse. So anyway, he chooses. So, but he's not partial, he says. In the Bhagavad Gita verses. Okay, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare
I just want to know what is the key difference between Visishta Advaita and Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva.
Oh, all this, this is maybe one whole class we need. No, that is just the Vishishta Advaita is also Vaishnavism. And it's very similar to all the Vaishnava philosophies are very similar. Madhva, Ramanuja, and Gaudiya Vaishnavism. It's just some small technical details. There is, I'm not remembering the Upanishad statement. One of their concepts which we don't agree with is what the soul is to our body, what our body is to our soul is to the Supreme Lord's soul. So that concept we kind of don't agree and all that. I mean, they also want to attain Vaikuntha. Anyway, okay, leave all that apart. The main difference, I'll just tell you quickly here is Sri Vaishnava's goal is surrender, Sharanagati. But our starting is Sharanagati. We start from the level of surrender. That is one. Number two is they only go up to have a desire to attain Sharanagati and enter Vaikuntha. Whereas the Gaudiya Vaishnava's philosophy reveal more than that Vaikuntha, Dwaraka, Ayodhya, Mathura, and then Goloka Vrindavan, all those things to the extent of the pastimes of the Supreme Lord. So that way, it is more philosophy was revealed after Ramanujacharya came by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So consider it that way. So don't see a difference, just see more was revealed after that.
Kanishta Adhikari, we take deity worshipping and who is not respecting devotee. So what should level we accept them as Sri Vaishnavas?
Well, they're also, if all the Alvars are great devotees, they're not Kanishta Adhikaris. There are such great Alvars who are like our Mahajans, Peri Alvar, Andal. They're all great devotees. They've written so many granthas are there, heavy Vaishnava philosophy. Our Bhagavad Gita, which is Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, is 70% based on the Gita Bhashya of Ramanujacharya. We can't say they're all Kanishta Adhikaris. They're also exalted. All the Madhva Acharyas, the Madhva Sampradaya, Vallabha Sampradaya, are all exalted devotees. You can't just judge them by who you see in a temple as a priest.
They don't preach like as ISKCON devotees. do.
That's all the topic. Not let's stick to the katha we spoke today. They don't preach, they don't do this, they don't do that. Prabhupada spread the mission, and he's asked everyone to spread the mission. So what they do and they don't do is their thing. Ours, we will talk what we do. They're also trying to preach, so anyway, in small way. Anyway, next question. Anything to this pertaining to what we discussed today in Katha? Nothing? Okay. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Let us all, before leaving the class, let us all express our deep gratitude for this wonderful class that Prabhuji have given by loudly chanting once Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We'll all assemble downstairs for the announcements. Hare Krishna.